The season kicks off with the Mayans, specifically the Santo Padre Charter, gearing up to move a drug shipment, and the president of the charter is Bishop. We also meet Reyes, a new prospect who just got out of prison early for killing a cop. He's introduced to the charter by his brother Angel, who's already a member. Angel is taking the crew to Vegas, but they get ambushed on the way, and the shipment gets stolen. After losing the shipment, the Mayans have to explain the situation to Miguel Galindo, the boss of the Galindo cartel. Miguel blames Bishop and the crew for the loss and demands they track down the attackers. While they're trying to figure out who stole the cargo, Easy mentions the tattoos he saw on them. Turns out, he has a photographic memory. Bishop isn't thrilled with Easy for speaking up, but thanks to him identifying the tattoos, they realize it was the Samoan gang that hit them. On their way back, Angel, Easy, Coco, and Gilly head to the Mexican side to get their injured member treated, while the others go to a building, leaving Easy as a lookout. They come back with a bag, and Easy is clueless about what's going on. Eventually, they return to the club and are joined by Marcus Alvarez, the founder of the Mayans. They brainstorm a plan to capture the Samoan leader. When they meet him, it turns into a shootout. The Samoan leader tries to flee but is caught with some help from the Sons. During his interrogation by Miguel, he reveals he was just a hired gun and that the ones who ordered the hit are a rebel group called Los Olvidados. This group has also been attacking his organization in Mexico. Easy spots his ex-girlfriend Emily with a kid and remembers how in love they were before he went to prison. He recalls breaking up with her when she came to visit him. As she storms out of the prison, she tells him that she's pregnant. Now we find out that Emily is married to Miguel Galindo, who is the father of the child. When Easy arrives at his dad's butcher shop, we discover he's been working as an informant for DEA agent Jimenez, which is why he got out of prison early. However, his deal only involves taking down Miguel Galindo, not the Mayans. Angel also reveals to Easy that he goes to the Mexican side and introduces him to Adelita, the leader of the rebels. Angel hands her the package, and Easy realizes that Angel is the mole. Angel explains that the cartel is going down, and he's doing this to align the club with the rebels, whom he believes are the future. On the flip side, Adelita gives an order, and her crew goes after Emily, kidnapping her son and shooting her bodyguards. Emily makes it home, and when Miguel finds out, he promises her he'll get their son back. Miguel calls the MC for help in finding his son, and gives them the description of the car that took him. Easy saw the car earlier, but because of Angel, he stays quiet. Angel, unaware of anything, wants him to keep that info to himself for now. Emily, scared, upset, and angry, questions Miguel about the rebels and asks him not to do anything that could endanger their child. Miguel received a video of the rebels destroying his drugs, and they managed to identify a street vendor in the background. Now they've brought him in for questioning. But he doesn't know anything, and just as they were about to torture his kid, Angel stops them by revealing the location of the car. But it doesn't lead them anywhere. Miguel's mother Dita, along with one of his advisors, Devante, informs him that his elder brother was also kidnapped once. However, their father refused to give in to the demands and instead opted to use force to track him down. Unfortunately, this led to the loss of his brother. But his father came out stronger than ever. Miguel believed that his brother had died from pneumonia, but his mother reveals that this was just a cover story for those who were unaware. Upon hearing this, Miguel ordered an offensive. Meanwhile, in Mexico, Angel tells Adelita that the kid is significant to his brother since Emily was his ex-girlfriend. Adelita reassures him that nothing will happen to the kid. Just as they are about to leave, they stumble upon the charred remains of a street vendor and his child in the town center, serving as a grim warning to those who support the rebels. Upon returning, Easy receives a visit from Emily at his father's butcher shop. Emily asks him to tell her the truth, as no one is giving her any information. Still harboring feelings for her, Easy reveals that the cartel has already retaliated by burning 2 people. As Emily fears she may never see her son again, Easy promises her that he'll do everything in his power to protect him. On the flip side, Miguel's men are on the hunt for the rebels in Mexico, but always seem to be one step behind. Aware that the rebels are taking in children, they've begun to cultivate spies among them. Adelita wants Angel to move the remaining drugs. They have to secure funds for the next phase of their plan, and Angel informs her that he has a Chinese buyer ready. Across the border, the Mayans are concerned about the drug shipment due to the ongoing rebel activities. However, Miguel reassures them that there will be no interruptions. Additionally, the Chinese want to meet them in person this time since they lost the last shipment. As they head to the meeting on neutral grounds, we discover that Angel's Chinese buyer is one of the attendees from the meeting. After the meeting wraps up and everything is settled, Bishop informs the crew that he has been working behind the Chinese's backs, revealing what they wanted. As a result, Angel ends up losing his buyer. Meanwhile, Emily finds out about Miguel's actions and feels angry and betrayed, leading to a lack of trust between them. This growing distance is evident in their relationship. In Mexico, the spies that Miguel had nurtured finally yield results, and they now recognize the enemy's face. Additionally, he learns that his son is still alive. On another note, locals at the border have been shooting at illegal immigrants, and this time, one of the victims was found with illegal pills. The mayor asks Bishop to investigate the matter, as she wants to avoid federal involvement. When Bishop approaches the local leader, Easy notices a shot caller from his prison days. To silence them, they need to eliminate the threat. However, when they attempt to carry out the hit, their partners have already taken care of it. To sell the drugs, Angel gets the contact information of their buyers and reaches out to them. He pays a visit to Angel, and we learn that they have military backgrounds and have tentatively agreed to make a purchase. However, first, he must smuggle their translator and his wife out of Mexico. Angel teams up with Easy to retrieve them, but the Mexican police are already on the scene and capture them as well. They send Easy to fetch money in exchange for their lives. Easy, along with Coco, approaches Adelita for assistance, and she agrees to help. They plan the exchange, providing drugs instead of cash, but the buyer is not willing to let everyone go. With the help of her rabbits, Adelita takes out the Federals, saving everyone involved. We also learn about a connection between Angel and Adelita. With the translator safe, they manage to sell their products and generate some capital. Meanwhile, Emily, aware of a festival coming up in Mexico, suggests to Miguel that he could use it to turn the people against the rebels. Miguel is quite taken with the idea. He and Emily decide to get involved, and when they arrive at the church, they discover a nun who has been brutally murdered, with the rebels being blamed for the crime. However, in the chaos that follows, Emily gets hurt when the crowd crushes her. Seeing her injured, Easy can't resist checking on her to ensure she's all right, and Miguel's men notice him leaving. Miguel then warns Easy to keep his distance from his wife. On another note, Jimenez's boss learns that Miguel's son has been kidnapped and instructs him to pressure Easy into reconciling with Emily to turn her against Miguel. Although Jimenez is hesitant about this plan, his boss insists, and he reluctantly agrees to carry it out. When he informs Easy of the situation, Easy outright refuses, and Jimenez warns him that not complying will cost him his deal. Despite this, Easy stands firm in his refusal. To coerce Easy, Jimenez approaches Felipe and threatens to expose his true identity if he doesn't convince Easy to comply. We find out that Felipe is actually an undercover cop in Mexico who has ties to the cartel. He reveals his past to Jimenez, showing him old photos of himself and threatening him and his family, warning him not to push him too far. Meanwhile, Devante gives Alvarez a photo of the rebel leader, and they keep it close, unsure of who they can trust. Additionally, we learn that Coco has a daughter who just discovered this fact after being raised by Coco's mother, believing Coco was her brother. But now, Coco is trying to step up. Emily, shaken up by the incident in Mexico, visits Easy, but before anything could happen, Angel interrupts them, and Emily returns home. And she gets in an argument with Miguel, and they ended up making out. On the other hand, Adelita lets their local bishop know that the rebels were not behind the attack on the church, and the bishop knows this already, and he has been supporting her. And with Angel selling the drugs, he gives Adelita the payment, and they begin their next phase of the plan. She also leaves a location where they will be going next, and Miguel's spy was able to get this information back to him. Miguel and Emily's relationship has improved a lot after their makeout, and as Miguel gets ready to go after the rebels, he receives a call, demanding a ransom in exchange for his son, and they ask him to come to Mexico alone, crossing the border. Miguel agrees to pay the ransom and wants his men to hold the attack until he has a son. On the other hand, Coco's daughter is in trouble, and Easy helps her out by disposing the body of a trucker whom she killed as he attacked her. Whereas Jimenez, shaken up by Felipe's threat, has decided to take a vacation, and he informs him the same. Miguel gets his son after the payment, and he ordered his men to attack. But no one was at the location, and we learn that it was just a test for the boy's loyalty. And in failing it, Minnie pushes him down from the roof. Miguel was not able to get through the border crossing, as the blanket in which they gave his son had drugs in it, and he is being held at the border crossing. And with Miguel being in holding, Adelita crosses over and is helped by the Reyes brothers. And she goes to their father Felipe, and we find that she is the daughter of his partner. She informs him that 2 years after he left, his father also left the cartel to settle with his mom. But one day, men from the cartel showed up and hacked her parents, as well as his brother, in front of her. After seeing the pictures, Adelita believes him and decides to leave. Easy makes his way home easily, where he discovers the documents his father left behind, revealing the truth about his father's true identity. Meanwhile, Felipe visits an old friend to warn him about Adelita, returning the favor from years ago when he helped Felipe escape. On another front, Jimenez, unable to turn Easy, finds out that his deal has been revoked. He warns Easy to steer clear of the cops and promises to try to sort things out after learning that Miguel is in prison. As the Mayans are stopped by the police, Easy makes a run for it to avoid being caught outside the club and to protect the others from being searched. Jimenez storms into the command room, where Potter is now leading the investigation, urging him not to take down Easy. He informs Potter that he just got intel from Easy about Miguel being held at the border. Once they confirm the information, Potter decides to let Easy's deal stand for the time being, and Easy is released. Back at the club, Coco's daughter shows up with self-inflicted wounds after a fight with Coco's mother. When Coco confronts her in a fit of rage, he ends up killing her. Meanwhile, Adelita meets Miguel in prison, having bribed the guards. She presents him with a deal, explaining that she could dismantle his entire operation, but warns that someone else would take his place. Instead of destruction, she proposes collaboration. Together, they could have a significant impact, reducing corruption and violence. To ensure accountability, they agree to appoint a third party as a mediator. Adelita leaves him with time to consider her proposal. So, Miguel gets out of prison. As he heads home with his son, Potter shows up and raids their place, arresting him and his wife while taking their son away. Potter gives Miguel a serious warning, showing him that he can keep him and his wife away from their son for a long time, or they could be released right away. But there's a catch. He has to agree to work for them. Potter lays out all the dirt they have on him and is really pushing for a deal. He tells Miguel that he wants to keep the rebels under control, and with Miguel on board, it would be a piece of cake. However, Miguel is hesitant because his father was destroyed due to a deal he made with the CIA. Potter insists that this is the only way for Miguel to have an easier life. Meanwhile, Jimenez finds out that they might strike a deal with Miguel and is furious since he spent 2 years building a case against him. He threatens Potter, saying he might leak information to the press. Jimenez informs Easy about this and urges him to run, but Easy knows that since his brother sponsored him in the club, he would also be in trouble. So, he decides to stay and face whatever comes his way. After a lot of thinking, and realizing that both he and his son are in danger, Miguel finally agrees to the deal. They are allowed to leave, and Easy's situation remains under wraps for now. Easy and Angel help Coco dispose of his mother's body, but they get pulled over by the cops. When the officers see the body in the car, they get arrested. However, Potter manages to make the case vanish and tells Angel that his brother is the informant, but only for the Galindo cartel, not the club. But now his help isn't needed anymore. However, it might be required down the line, and they owe him a favor. Angel is taking out his frustration on Easy for being an informant, and he's even more let down to find out that their dad was already aware of it. Meanwhile, Miguel is back home, contemplating his next steps. He wants to play Potter by making him think they're pursuing the rebels, while secretly collaborating with them. Devante, however, believes this isn't the best approach, while Emily encourages him to follow his instincts. As he ponders, he stumbles upon some old records belonging to his father. On another note, Jimenez notices that everything in his office is being cleared out, prompting him to leave and inform Felipe of the same. He tells Felipe that Potter has been appointed by the DOJ to handle all matters concerning Mexico now. In Mexico, Miguel's crew learns from the bishop that he can lure Adelita out. Miguel calls a meeting to share his CIA deal with everyone, despite Devante's objections. Additionally, he reveals that they will be teaming up with the rebels, pretending to fight against them while actually working together under Potter's radar to benefit everyone involved. Miguel introduces everyone to Adelita. Once the deal is sealed, Miguel tells Devante that he discovered his brother died from pneumonia in the records he found, and since he and his brother lied about it to manipulate him, he no longer trusts him. Moreover, he was responsible for the death of Adelita's family. So, as a gesture of trust, he hands Devante over to Adelita. We also see the bishop hanging in the church. Once everything was sorted out, the brothers received a message from Potter, who wanted them to take out Jimenez, fearing he might rat them out. Easy and Angel both understood that if they didn't handle it, Potter would have them locked up. So, they headed to Jimenez's place without telling each other. However, they found out that Jimenez wasn't alone. His boss was there too. To protect one another, the brothers ended up killing 2 agents. Potter helped them clean up the mess and later erased Easy's record as an informant. Angel wanted Easy to leave the club, but Easy said no and asked Bishop to be his sponsor instead, since being sponsored by his brother was complicating things for them. Meanwhile, with Devante gone, Miguel asked Marcus to team up with him, and Marcus decided to exit the club, splitting the power among 3 charters. We also find out that Easy and Angel's mother was shot during a robbery attempt, and Easy remembered the car that drove by. When he saw that car again, he chased after the guy inside. As he pursued him and tried to shoot, he accidentally hit a cop instead. Just before he got arrested, he caught a glimpse of the shooter's face. As the season wraps up, Marcus joins Miguel, while Easy spots the shooter at his club, who turns out to be a member of Samcro. Thanks for watching.